How have your travels been all throughout SEC basketball over the last few weeks?
Well, it's been great to get all around the league. It's been some high level basketball on the men's and women's side. And I think the good thing about the league is that it seems that every single team is improving, and that's exactly what you want to see.
Well, last year there was so much made. We'll start kind of with the league in general to start this conversation on the men's side. There was so much made about how good the league was, played well in non conference play, got so many teams to the NCAA tournament. Maybe not quite the same buzz around the league this season, but do you still see so much talent? And could we see a huge march coming up for SEC men's basketball?
I definitely think it's possible. I think last year's run that they had in a non-conference was historic, and it spoiled a lot of people to see how strong that the SEC was to make 14 teams into the NCAA tournament. Didn't have the outing in the non-conference slate that everyone would like to see. But I think it's promising that you see so many teams that are starting to improve because of the continuity that they're gaining mid-season. You got to remember, many of the top teams in the league had veteran core rosters last season with a lot of returners and a lot of age. This year, teams are starting to try to figure it out with a little bit more youth, but they're getting better and better as the season goes. And potentially, if teams get hot at the right time, I think you can see the SEC back representing in the Final Four and maybe even win a national championship.
Any teams you have your eye on, maybe that could get hot at the right time? We know Vanderbilt's been off to a good start. Alabama's been in the mix as well. Who could get hot from this group and make a deep run?
Well, I think you have to start with the defending national champions, with the Florida Gators. This is a team that has the best front line in college basketball. But the question has been, can their guard play come up and match the level of what they have with their big men? And you're starting to see with Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland to start to be able to knock down the shot from the outside and play a little bit high level of a higher level of ball as of late. That if they can get it together, then I think in the conference they'll be the team to beat. I think on the flip side, when you look at the next contender, you probably have to lean towards Alabama. It's the opposite with them. It's the guard play that has really been elite. And if they can get something out of this front line, which they're starting to get a lot from Aiden Sherrill down low, I think they can be a significant player when it's all said and done. But there's a lot of good teams in this league. I didn't mention Vanderbilt and what they're doing. They started off hot, but there's a lot of talent in Arkansas's roster. So you got to continue to take everyone in this league, including the Tennessee Vols, who have struggled a little bit as a top level contender to win the SEC. It's wide open.
It really is. And for Alabama, had a disappointing week with the losses to Vanderbilt, a game you went to in person in Nashville, and then right after that against the Texas Longhorns. But how'd you see Nate Oates get this team ready to go for tough trips against Mississippi State and Oklahoma? Two really good wins last week.
Well, it shows the resilience because, quite frankly, I think those two losses with Vanderbilt on the road was a winnable game. Alabama had a lot of momentum going into halftime, but some cramps and injuries that took place without having Aiden Sherrill and LeBaron Fallon not being able to participate in the second half, I think played a significant role in Alabama pulling that game out, and they still could have won. The game against Texas was something that caught them off guard. But it was the response to go on the road at Mississippi State, a team that was playing really good basketball. You have one of the leading scorers in the country and in the league, and Josh Hubbard, who's been playing at an elite level. To bounce back the way they did in that second half and win that game in Starkville was huge. And then the resiliency once again on the road in Norman against a team that really needed a win and to hold on and down in the stretch of the game showed that Alabama has a lot of fight. It's a talented team, and if they can get things together and continue to be focused for 40 minutes for every single game, then I think they have to have a lot of confidence in their roster and their staff to be able to be competing for an SEC championship.
And to compete as well, you need some high level players, starting with, let's go first of all with Aiden Sherrill, because you've talked about the need for Alabama in this system to have a big man really step up as a rim protector and then somebody who can just play the game at a high level. How has Aiden Sherrill filled that role this year?
Well, I thought he's done a phenomenal job here in his second year. He seems to have leaned up a little bit, which is making him a little bit more active and light on his feet. You can see the production as far as the defensive side with his ability to rim protect, being one of the top shot blockers in the conference. His rebounding ability has started to pick up significantly for Alabama, which is huge. And finishing down low, we've seen a nice array of low post moves and footwork and touch. And when he starts on the inside being productive, we know that he was recruited as a big man that had the outside range, and that starts to come together. So you're starting to see the maturity in Aiden Sherrill and what he can potentially be. And if he can continue to play at a high level, then he, in my opinion, will be the key to how far Alabama can go.
And a lot of people would point to as well LeBaron Philon Jr. in his sophomore season at Alabama. Dynamic scorer. He's been better on defense lately as well. Just what are you seeing out of Philon's game and the kind of impact he's going to have on this team down the stretch?
Supreme level of confidence. I mean, when I watch LeBaron Philon, this is a guy who I really believes that in his mind, he thinks when he has you on an island, that he has the upper hand. And right now, he's playing with so much confidence. He's crafty on the perimeter. When he gets in the paint, he has so much poise to be able to make a play around shot blockers or using soft touch over the top. His outside shot is starting to fall. And he plays well with his backcourt mate, Aiden Holloway. I think those two guys, they play so well together that they understand how to move without the ball. They can also be the point guard and bring it up and orchestrate things within the offense. And when they get a clean look, they're confident they can knock it down. So it's Philon, but it's also when he's paired with his backcourt mate Holloway, what really makes this dynamic duo impressive for Alabama.
And then how does freshman Amari Allen kind of impact the game as well? He was recently named the SEC Freshman of the Week.
Well, this kid is extremely impressive to me. At 6'8", he plays with so much level of maturity. He's a willing rebounder, likes to get his nose in there and do a lot of the dirty work things for the team. But he also has a nice skill set. He can run the point. He can set things up for the shooters on the perimeter. He has a physicality where he can use his size and get close to the basket and get to the free throw line. And defensively, he's disruptive, far more disruptive than what you would expect for a freshman who didn't necessarily come in as a highly touted guy, but the confidence that you see, he has a mentality that he is the man, and he plays that way, and it's very important for Alabama. It's going to be important for Alabama moving forward that the confidence level of everyone on the court that's checking in the game or in the starting five is at a high level. You have to work your minutes, come in, do your job, and when you do that, that's when you'll see Alabama playing at its best.
That's what Crimson Tide fans want coming up on Saturday. You mentioned Tennessee when we talked about some of the contenders in the Southeastern Conference. What kind of game can we expect between the Vols and the Crimson Tide Saturday night?
Well, that's always going to be physical, and Tennessee's looking for a win. And Alabama has struggled with the Vols as of late. And you know that Rick Barnes is going to have his team motivated as they've been able to drop one against Kentucky at home, a team that was struggling early on in conference play but has seemed to pick it up under the leadership of Mark Pope. But this is a game that Tennessee needs. And Alabama loves to get out and play with the free-flowing style. Tennessee traditionally loves to grind things out. They have some physical bigs that can get on the offensive glass, and they try to defend. But I do think that since Alabama has dropped two games early on, there's a sense of urgency for the Crimson Tide. So this is going to be a big matchup and have some time to prepare for the Vols. I think that Alabama will be ready. But you got to understand there'll be a huge sense of urgency for the Tennessee Volunteers.
Well, the last basketball game we saw inside Coleman Coliseum was a women's game against Tennessee this past Sunday. Of course, you've called a lot of Alabama women's games on SEC Plus. You and I will team up for one coming up this week with Alabama against Mississippi State. But where do you see this women's basketball team right now as we continue getting deeper in SEC play?
Well, I think Christy Curry is doing a phenomenal job. You know, this was a team that is replacing three players that were drafted into the WNBA. And I think from the outside, I think a lot of people felt like this would be a rebuilding year. And they came out in the non-conference and got through it undefeated, which was very impressive. And a lot of people may have said that maybe they didn't have much of a challenging non-conference roster. Well, I think that was credit to the coach. You have to give them give them credit for the scheduling to make sure they can fill out how their team is playing. And they got to conference play and up 3-1 in the league after dropping the first one to South Carolina. They showed that this team is legit. And you beat a tough Kentucky team that believes they're a contender to make it to the Final Four. To do that and then do it with the resiliency and the overall team play and balance and the leadership of your guards in Carly Weathers and Jessica Timmons, I thought has shown that this team is definitely here to be reckoned with. Now, they have some injuries. They're going to have to get healthy, and they're going to have to make sure that they regroup after dropping two games that I believe were winnable, although they did not have full strength. But if they can get back to full strength and continue to play with this synergistic style and balance that they had in the earlier games, I think they can really be a team to be reckoned with in conference play.
And in your time broadcasting Alabama women's basketball, I believe Carly Weathers maybe was a freshman since she first joined us on SEC Plus a few years ago. Just how have you seen her evolve as a player to now being one of the key go-to players for Christy Curry?
Well, I think you're spot on. She has impressed me immensely. This is a player who comes from an athletic family and has come in into a team and been to the NCAA tournament, I believe, in every year she's been on campus. So she knows how to win. On a team last year that had so much firepower, she led the team in minutes. So you know how much this coaching staff trusts her. There were questions about what she could do in a different role as far as the point production being gone from last year's team. Would she have to step up to be the number one player on this roster, and how would she be able to do it? Well, I think she's answered every one of those questions, and she's done it in her own way. This is a player that can impact the game in so many ways. Defensively, always in the passing lanes with active hands and tremendous level of anticipation. She is rebounding at a high level and very physical. She shoots the ball with a lot of confidence on the outside, and she can also bring it up and orchestrate the offense. So anything that is needed to be done to win the ball game, Carly Weathers is doing that for the team. And it's not surprising to see that she has continued to improve this year, because she's improved every single year that she's been at Alabama. And she's looking to go out in her senior year to see if they can continue to make some noise.
Crimson Tide getting great production from her. Jessica Timmons on the perimeter. In the post, you mentioned some injuries. Essence Cody unavailable for the last 3 games for Alabama. So that means it's been a lot of Naomi Jones, someone, again, we saw a few years ago when she first broke in as a freshman, but hasn't been healthy since then until this season. What have you made of her kind of making the most of this opportunity this year?
Well, I've been impressed with Naomi Jones. She's turned the corner as a big who has missed a lot of time due to injury. It's been a question of what can she do, and people, quite frankly, looking to see how she would contribute to this team. But I tell you, on the defensive end, she has incredible shot blocking skills. I mean, to remain out of foul trouble and block the shots with both hands, moving her feet, walling up with verticality. She really gives Alabama a big time presence on the back line. Now, if she can get her offensive game to match the defensive game, then I really think she will be something serious for Alabama. But I've been impressed with what she's been able to do, particularly in her role. And as this team continues to get healthy, as you touched on earlier with Jessica Timmons coming back from injury and playing high level ball, and if you can get Essence Cody back into the fold, getting those two on the court together in that front line with Cody and with Jones, I think can be significant for Alabama. But this is a staff that does a tremendous job of finding the issues and the problems of other teams and doing their best to exploit those deficiencies. So I have full confidence that Christy Curry and her staff will do everything they can to put their players in the best position to be successful.
Well, the next time we see Alabama women's basketball, again, you and I will be on the call on Sunday for Alabama against Mississippi State on SEC Network Plus. How about for you? Give us your schedule over the next bit as we get ready for more basketball games to round out January. Where are you going to be coming up on the SEC Network?
Well, on the SEC Network, I'll be starting off tomorrow. I'll be headed up and checking out the Kentucky Wildcats as they continue to get their momentum going against the Texas Longhorns in Rupp Arena. So that should be a really good matchup as two teams that are trending in the right direction. I'll also have coming up Auburn women's basketball and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt playing really good basketball, a top 5 team and still undefeated as they went out of conference with a big top 10 victory over Michigan. So it's going to be a lot of high level ball in the SEC, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And obviously seeing the level of Alabama, because those are two high level teams on the men and women's side.
We look forward to it. Richard, always a blast to catch up with you on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Just thank you for your time. Safe travels, and we'll see you in Tuscaloosa Sunday. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Roll Tide.